Hello, YouTube fans. This is the Scar Clown. I'm here to talk about Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX is actually near and dear to my heart, to be quite honest. It is one of the best. No, it is the Final Fantasy game. The fact that there's right now talks of this remake. Look, a long time ago, I would have been ecstatic for the remake. Now, I don't trust this company at all. I don't. I don't trust Square Enix. The only time that I will ever trust them is with Dragon Quest, mainly because Enix itself won't let Square itself fuck up Dragon Quest. Because if they did, people in Japan would literally have pitchforks in their doorsteps and literally fuck them up. Because you guys don't know how big Dragon Quest is in Japan. It's like a holiday there, guys. Okay? Dragon Quest is fucking massive. Okay? People love it that much. Alright? And people always be like, oh yeah, whatever. But yet we see it here with some fandoms too. You would believe it here, but you won't believe it in another country? That's the type of mindset that's like idiotic. It's almost like saying that, oh, I went through racism, but you can't go through racism because you're not me. And it's like, what? What? You know? But moving on. This this game, I haven't played it in such a long time. I am planning to get it soon on the PS4, or maybe on the Switch on the physical copy of it. Cause why not? I can also get the Final Fantasy 7, 8 and physical copies too for the Switch. So I might just do that instead than get it on. I do have Final Fantasy 7 original and Final Fantasy 8 original on the PlayStation 4. So, and I do have Final Fantasy 8 the original on physical PS1, and so does I do have with Final Fantasy 9. I don't have on Final Fantasy 7. I used to, but then I sold it. Yeah, I know, but that's fine. I like 8 and 9 a little bit better than 7. Yeah, I said it. I said it. I love 8 and 9 way more than 7, to be quite honest. I don't hate 7. I don't hate Final Fantasy 7. You know, the music is phenomenal, obviously. Um, Obviously, because the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy games, those soundtracks are just. Going back to Final Fantasy 9, back then, the creator that made Final Fantasy said that Final Fantasy 9 was his personal favorite. And now that they're gonna do this, remake it, and he's not even like involved in it, like not even giving like a little help of producer or some shit like that. You know, maybe he is. I don't know, but I don't think Square's going to do that. I know how Square Enix is. The this game specifically, people don't understand this game specifically. This game is Final Fantasy. It is Final Fantasy. That means the gameplay needs to be traditional style turn based. Don't fuck with me with this shit. I'm dead serious. No of this action RPG shit that you've been doing to Final Fantasy. That's not Final Fantasy. That's Kingdom Hearts and other Final Fantasy games that you wanna do like side ones and stuff, which is fine. If it's its own Final Fantasy game, then that's fine. And hell, even a mainline Final Fantasy game like Final Fantasy 15, I don't care. But when you're gonna do it non-stop to a series, I'm like, stop it. You're acting like you're acting like there's no other turn base. You're acting like there's no other RPG system out there. There's different types. You don't have to do just turn base or action. There's a card one that's turn base, a card one that's action. That's just an example. It doesn't have to be card. But I'm just giving you an example. You know? So this game, like, what are you gonna do, Square, with this game? Some people are gonna be fond of it because it's gonna look beautiful. and everything like that. Oh, look at the way Vivi looks and everything like that. And those are probably the same people that never play the fucking original just because, oh, the way the graphics look, I can't play a PS1 game. Then don't play the remake. I'm dead serious. Don't play it. Oh, how dare you say that? That's leaving off the people that want to branch off and play the other game. Well, okay, go ahead, play it, but don't say the original shit like you do with Final Fantasy VII Remake. The remake is awesome. The original is terrible. Why? Because the way the graphics look? Yeah, it's nice that Square Enix is listening to your pathetic motherfuckers and not listening to the fans that literally care about these games, despite the way the graphics look. You know what that shows? That shows love, right? You don't have a child that looks fugly and then be like, yeah, fuck this child, kick your child around and shit like that. You shouldn't be a parent at that point. At that point, you're going to talk to me and I'm going to kick your fucking goddamn ass. All right? I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care if you're fucking 60 years old. All right? Shit. Don't get me fucking talking. I'm dead serious. All right? But, like, I'm looking at, like, are you going to do Parasite Eve also? And to be honest, I'm actually looking forward to the Parasite Eve one. If you are gonna do it, but I'm also, but well, not a remake of Parasite Eve, kind of like what they did with Final Fantasy VIII, um, the remaster one, kind of like that. So that I wouldn't mind that. And obviously what they did with the again the rehands of Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 9, you know, when they re-released them on the what they originally looked like on PS1. So I don't mind if they do that with Parasite Eve. I'm actually waiting for them to do that. To be quite honest, and they all gonna do it most likely. But a whole remake of Parasite Eve, people want a sequel. To be honest, but I'll do Parasite Eve another day. With Final Fantasy IX, it's I can't think of anything better to not fuck it up. If you want there, you want there. If you didn't play this game when you were younger, or you didn't play this game to appreciate where Final Fantasy is, or how it is, or why it's like this, then you don't deserve to play any Final Fantasy game, to be honest. You don't understand what Final Fantasy is, guys. You really don't. It's the same thing with Dragon Quest. You guys look at these stuff like it's just games and shit like that. And I'm looking at it like, you guys are like, what are you guys in Cuckoo Land? These games have actually changed people's lives, to be quite honest with you. It's like reading a book. You say shit like that, people think that, oh, you're crazy. But if you say that for a book, people will be like, oh, that's so inspiring. But if it's a video game, you say, go fuck yourself. I could be outside in nature and get inspiration from that. And then someone will still say, oh, go fuck yourself. Because they're that fucking stupid. We're dealing with this type of mentality that Square Enix is catering to people. Alright? I want you to pay attention and know what Square Enix is marketing to. Why do you think Final Fantasy VII is the way it is? Final Fantasy VII Remake the way it is. Right? I don't care if you like it. That is that's non and void. That doesn't count, to be quite honest. I don't give a fuck if you like it or hate it. To be honest, what does count is what Square Enix did with it. It literally is trash. 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 Oh, the beginning's fine and then the ending. Trash. 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 They could have done so much better than what you're literally telling me. Are you kidding me? We're in 2022 and you're telling me that literally what they did in this game, you're telling me that's good? We're in 2022 and you're telling me that's fine. When games out here have done better. For crying out loud, Rockstar has done fucking goddamn better. You know, before they decided to, you know, fuck the fans. And the thing is, people are looking at you, Square, and they are literally right now, they're literally telling themselves maybe we're getting back to what we were back in the 90s was Square. And I'm laughing my ass off like, no, no, we're not. No, we're not. We're not even close to that, to be quite honest. We're nowhere near that spectrum, to be quite honest. And if you think that, you are in denial. You think this remake is gonna be the what it was the original? And I'm not talking about frame by frame, guys. I'm talking about the heart of what Final Fantasy IX was. Same thing with any of Final Fantasy games that you enjoy and love. You know that there was something in it, that the heart, the passion, the love. And when you play when you play Final Fantasy VII, do you get that? Did you? If you know what? Because the thing is, even if you tell me you did, I'm still gonna think you're lying. Because to me, I'll be like, did you even play the original? And if you haven't, then that just tells me, then forget it. I should not even listen to you. And if you have, and you still feel that way, then I don't know what to tell you. What do you want me to tell you? The only thing I could tell you is that from the beginning, people have told Square Enix that they've been wanting this for a whole bunch of times. And the fact that they did it, they're like, all right, we'll give you it, but we'll give you it in our own way. And then automatically you give the versions that people have been asking for in mobile versions. You put Final Fantasy Crisis Core and Final Fantasy VII together as a game, which is good because I've been wanting that for years. But you should have done that a long time ago before you decided to do the remake, anyways, because that is not like really a remake in a way. You know, like again, when you say you were going to remake, people were like, "Oh no," people want it frame by frame, like the remake of Psycho, which I knew you wouldn't do that, but the fact that you didn't went that route, which is great, that's fine. But you went through another route that's completely bullshit with storytelling and all that, because you looked at Final Fantasy VII Remake and you were like, yeah, what was the original story for that? About loss? Oh, okay, yeah, fuck about that. We don't want to tell about that story. We don't want to tell about that. We don't want to hurt the people. We don't want to make them feel emotional. Because that's too much nowadays too. People don't want to offend anybody. No, we need to offend fucking goddamn people. Why do you think South Park still exists? Okay? Nowadays people would be like, "Oh, that's just South Park." But I guarantee you, if Warner Brothers still did that, racy Looney Tune shit, I bet you any motherfucker would be like, "Oh, that's just Warner Brothers." To be honest, I would agree with them. I would have been like, "Yeah, that is Warner Brothers." To be quite honest, they're not wrong. This company's old as fuck. They're around in the fucking 30s. What do you guys think? Of course they're gonna do that. They still like that to this day too. I don't have to talk about the minstrel stuff. I mean, for Carnello, look at your favorite cartoon characters like Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. They have gloves and shit like that. They're basically telling you they're black people. you know. So moving on from that, the 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 impact that this game has, to be quite honest, a lot of people think that Final Fantasy IX is just all. It's like Final Fantasy VII, yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X. Ah! And I'm over here like, all these guys go crazy for all these Final Fantasy games except for 9. And then all of a sudden, 9 gets praised like a motherfucker. Where was this? Where the fuck were you people? You were nowhere to be found. Nowhere. Now it's getting a remake, and now all of a sudden, I'm a Final Fantasy IX fan. I'm a Final Fantasy IX fan. It's not all of you. It's not. It's not all of you. It's just some of them. And then that majority is what Square is catering to. They're catering to the people that don't play games at all, actually. Square, I want to tell you something right now. If anyone in Square Enix is watching, I have stopped playing your games and went to other games that are literally turn-based. I'm still playing Dragon Quest. I'm always going to play Dragon Quest because you will never get rid of the turn-based action. Thank goodness. Alright? For that, you're smart. But with Final Fantasy, you're a stupid motherfucker that has a thumb up their ass. So I went to companies like Atlas to play Shin Megami Tensei, and that is the best shit that I've been playing for like. I'm glad I went back to that series. That series is giving me. Even Shin Megami 5, despite everyone talking shit about that game, it's giving me more satisfaction than your fucking goddamn games right now, Square. I was gonna play, Guardians of the Galaxy, because right now that's probably like the last decent game that's out there. At least right now. Guys, I'm never gonna say Final Fantasy VII Remake is decent. Even if I played through the whole fucking goddamn game, I'm still not gonna tell you it's good. I'm still not gonna tell you. Alright? Am I convincing you that no matter what you do and what you tell me with Final Fantasy VII Remake, I would still fucking despise that shit. Just because everything behind it. Oh, that's sad. Just put that side view and then play the game. No. Because then I'm going to take the story in consideration. And then the story is flat out just not Final Fantasy. I mean, it could be a Final Fantasy game, which is fine. But it's not Final Fantasy VII. It's not in that universe. This universe of Final Fantasy VII has made its own universe. So it needs to be in that realm of its own universe. You don't make another different types of universe of Final Fantasy VII and decide to change the rules because, oh yeah, fuck it. That was in that dimension of Final Fantasy VII. This is in the other dimension of Final Fantasy VII. Then you know what? Then we have 3 dimensions of Final Fantasy VII. Kingdom Hearts, the original Final Fantasy, and the remake of Final Fantasy. So that means the Cloud that you see in Kingdom Hearts is not Cloud from the original game. But that's the point. Then why are they in the game? Seriously, why are they in the game? They shouldn't, to be honest, like, in story-wise in Kingdom Hearts, they're in there because their worlds have been taken. You think that'll be the only... It's a mixed match between Final Fantasy and Disney, so... Disney worlds have been captured, and so has Final Fantasy worlds. People can be really fucking dumb. Really fucking dumb. And this is how much Square Enix is, man. Square Enix is literally this dumb, man. And I've said this before and I said it again. This company, I love this company, but I stopped just. Why should I care for them? Like, I haven't talked about this company in a while, but just seeing all the stuff, I just keep getting reminded of making a 9 remake, and I'm just like I want to be hyped. Like my little kid me wants to be hyped, but the adult me is literally like, no, 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 no. You remastered Crisis Core, which looks great, and I want to get it. But to be honest, why should I give you my money? And second of all, why the fuck you change Zach's voice? Or he's supposed to. We want him to sound younger. Why? Out of this bullshit of trying to make people younger. What the fuck's wrong with you? You sick motherfuckers. I'm dead serious. You acting like no one doesn't get older around here. You dumb motherfucker. I'm dead serious. You don't notice that? It's the same thing with Peter Parker. Same thing with the deal with Spider-Man. Oh yeah, we want to make him younger and shit like that. Stop. The reason we like the Peter Parker to get older is because shit happens to him when he gets older, and you don't want to deal with those consequences. That is what's wrong with you fucking motherfuckers. You don't want these characters to grow up so you can deal with the fucking consequences of them growing up, because you want them to be little kids so when they do stupid shit they can get away with it because they're fucking kids. You want to I think I just realized why they make little kids and why they put kids in fantasy games now. Because fuck the logic. And sometimes they put that in anime too. But they usually use teenagers, which makes sense. But it's funny when they use teenagers. When they use kids, it's like, it's funny too, obviously. But to an extent. To an extent. Literally. You need to be really good at jokes to be doing that. And if you're not good at it, then it's gonna fall flat. I'm sorry. If you're not a good comedy person, then I'm sorry. It's just not gonna work. You might get a chuckle here or two, but if you're gonna keep doing it, people are just gonna be like, okay, can we just move on with the fucking goddamn story and the plot? Thank you. Like, what's this company gonna do next? What are you going to do after Final Fantasy IX remake? Oh, they're going to remake 8. To be honest, they should have remade 8 right after 7. But they went through 7 and then 9. I even heard they wanted to remake 6. I even heard that once after they remade 7, they're going to remake 6. Where's 6? What the fuck are you doing? Like, were you just jumping through numbers now? We're going to do 6. Oh, no. We're going to do 8. No, let's do 9. Why 9? I thought you didn't even fuck about 9. They started noticing that 9 has the better fan base. I mean, yeah, it has the better fan base. Because that's the true Final Fantasy. And it's the true Final Fantasy fans. Because if you look at Final Fantasy 9, it is what Final Fantasy is. It is literally all the Final Fantasies that came before. You look at Final Fantasy 9 and it's literally like you feel right at home. Because if you played the other games, even if you played the Game Boy versions or the PlayStation 1 version, you will feel right at home. Because it goes back to the medieval stuff and it feels like you're there, you're home. Even if it didn't take place in medieval, it still felt like it was home. Why? Because say if you play the original Shin Megami game and then you play one now, it still feels like it's right at home. I'm talking about like shit like that. Now I'm not saying that when they change to sci-fi to medieval, that's when they all fuck that. No, I'm not that type of person. I love when they do that. You know, when they went to sci-fi, I was like, cool. I like to see that. When they do both, like they did in Final Fantasy 6, with medieval and steampunk-ish, that's what I like. I like when they do steampunk a lot more than just sci-fi-ish. You know, and a lot of people like that too. To be honest, I found out more of the Final Fantasy fans like Square to do medieval and then steampunk, but never go futuristic, basically. I find out, I'm not saying that's all of them, but I find out there's like some group of people that are like that. So I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. Because when you see the sci-fi stuff of Final Fantasy, you'd be like, this is where they just don't give a fuck. They don't care at all. And in the spiritual enlightenment way, some of these games, well, mostly all of them, are based on tablets that are old as fuck. So if things might not make sense, it's because it's either taking place in a different dimension, and things in different dimensions literally don't make. I'm talking about a higher vibration, because in higher vibrations, things happen. You'd be like, how the fuck did it just happen? I'm like, because you're in a higher level. That's what happens. When you're in a higher consciousness, that's what's happened. So, little fun for note there. So, but that's why I have a passion for Final Fantasy IX. Because if you fuck that shit up, what are you doing? You retelling the same story, so why are you fucking up with the retelling the same story? That's why I had a problem with 7. I'm like, what are you doing? What tablet are you trying to stay? It's like you putting a tablet with another story, but it doesn't work with that story. What are you doing? For example, imagine getting the story of actually, I can't say the story of the Titans or the story with the Bible because it actually coordinates with it too. So, You see, even in real life, it helps with that shit, but you don't do it in video games. What the fuck? What? This is why Shimigami is awesome. Oh man, there are some flaws in Shimigami, Tensei series, but overall, it knows what it is. It knows what it is. Same thing with Dragon Quest, man. It knows what it is. It knows what it is. A lot of people back then, a lot of people hate Shimigami Apocalypse because it's catering to that Final Fantasy crowd and shit like that. But when you play it, to me, when I play it, I feel right at home because a lot of RPGs do this, not just Final Fantasy. That's why I look at people being like, "Do you just play Final Fantasy and that's it?" There's other RPGs out there that do the same thing, just not just Final Fantasy. I hope you know that, right? I hope you know that, right? Your whole world, your whole viewpoint of RPGs hopefully does not revolve just only in Final Fantasy. If it does, oh, oh, oh. It's like saying, "Oh, I only played Kingdom Hearts and never played any other fantasy." What? What? You never played no other RPG before? Not in a different style and everything like that? To me, that's very hard. Like, if you told me that, I would have think you're lying. I definitely would have thought you're lying. Because mostly, everyone's first RPG, guys, was Pokemon. Let's be honest here. If you were born in the 90s or you lived through the 90s, your first RPG game was literally Pokemon. Don't fuck with me, all right? Don't fuck with me. It was, all right? Then you probably went to Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. Okay? Literally, and you never look back. All right? Seriously. That was it all of us? No, most likely it wasn't. But it was us that was growing up with that era. Come on. You guys know it. You guys know it. If you lived through that era, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know, that smile on my face. You guys are like, yeah, yeah. I definitely know what you're talking about. You know, I mean, I'm 29 years old, so anyone that's looking at this video will be like, wow, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Back in the 90s and shit. You know, but the thing is, like, when you look at stuff like that, those games back in the 90s, well, they cared. They cared. And I don't want to get into like a conversation of like looking back then with the gaming now and then because I've talked about that before too, and many people have talked about it, and people are still talking about it still to this day. So I don't have to talk about it. The reason I point this stuff out with Final Fantasy IX is that that's Final Fantasy IX is it's hard to put in words. Actually, you need to play Final Fantasy IX, the original, just to know the atmosphere, the characters. When I first played Final Fantasy IX, I felt like I was playing a Kingdom Hearts game. That's not a bad thing. I love Kingdom Hearts. But it gave me that emotion that I felt from Kingdom Hearts. And I never felt, I'm getting teary up just talking about it. Mainly because I never felt like that from another game before. Kingdom Hearts made me feel like that, and Final Fantasy IX made me feel like that, and actually then some. To be quite honest, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience, and that's something that these developers do not understand and overstand. Do you guys know how to make an experience for the player? There's games out here like Journey, for example. Some people look at Journey saying that that's not a game. I'm like, I probably won't disagree with you, but I'll still call it a game because it's a game. You're physically playing it, and it's art. Games are art, anyways. I don't give a fuck what no one says. It's art. Someone had to make something to put it on screen. It's art. I don't give a fuck what you say. It's art. It's just moving. You know, people think movies are art, and that shit's moving. You know, so shit. You know, shit. Some people think water fountains are art, but that shit's fucking moving. Oh my god! But this, how much can I talk about Final Fantasy IX? How could I? I mean, how long is this video? Like, I don't want to go too long. 29 minutes, man. I don't want to go too long, but this game is really something to experience. It really is. Once you boot up that game and you hear the song, dun, 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 you know that lovely song of Melody of Life. That song will get stuck in your head forever, and it's not a bad song. There's different versions of it. I love the open map theme version of it. It is just great. That if that alone doesn't make you tear up or make you think, basically, then I'm not talking to you. Don't even watch the rest of this video, to be quite honest. I'm dead serious. Because that theme right there alone is just, it reminds me of the Final Fantasy VII map opening world theme. Both of those themes are so good. So good. I don't know what's wrong with the Final Fantasy VIII open world theme. I mean, it's fine. It is fine. Actually, it's not that bad, actually. I just like Final Fantasy 9 and 7 a little more than 8. But the more I'm thinking about 8, I'm just like dun 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 dun. It's catchy as fuck. Especially when you're walking around and then dun 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 dun. Oh, I don't know. I just get gushy sometimes with Final Fantasy 8 sometimes. It's fun. It really is. When you know what you're doing in that game, it's fun as fuck. If you don't know, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna think this game is shit. Maybe you're just bad at the game. Most people are like, fuck you. No, but this is, I just hope that you guys know that I just hope you guys realize that Square Enix is not going to do justice with this. They're not. They're not. Some people might tell me, what if they do? You're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. Or you're fooling yourself. You have too much confidence in Square Enix. I'm sorry, you have too much confidence in this company. Too much. Very too much. That's like looking at what Rockstar has been doing with GTA and the fan base and also Red Dead 2. You will look at that and be like, that's perfect. And I will literally not talk to you at all. I don't even want to know you. Like, if I saw you in the street and you told me that, like, don't. Just don't. How about that? Just don't. I'll be like, how? No. Yo. But I'm just imagining how Square can just fuck this up. And I'm just like, wow, man. You're going to fuck up a good game that people adore. And then the people that never played the original are going to play this one. And if they hate it, they're going to think the original sucks, probably. Not probably. Probably not. Maybe they will actually get intrigued to play the original. That'd be nice. That sometimes could happen. And that sometimes I will look at the remix and be like, you know what? You did something right with that. But with everything else, if you just fuck up because the developers are just assholes, then no. Fuck you. I'm not buying your game. I'm not buying it. You know how many Square Enix games, guys, do we have to buy to you to finally realize that this company doesn't give a shit about you? We went through it with Dissidia NT, Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Don't get me started with The Stranger of Paradise and Final Fantasy 7-16. The thing is, too, those games look decent. But it's behind a company that's putting shit on it. Literally shit. Stranger of Paradise doesn't look bad of a game. But some of the shit that they just want to do with it, I'm just looking at it like, what? And it crashed on me too, so look at that. When I played the demo. I played the demo and that shit crashed on me. So why should I get the game? The demo's to advertise for you to get the game. When the demo breaks down, that should tell you, oh, well then why should I get the game then? It would be idiotic to be like, the demo crashed on me. Alright, I can't wait to pre-order. That'd be dumb. That'd be so dumb. And if you're like that just to play around, you're sad, man. You're really sad. And you need to get some help. Really, you do. There's people out there that act that way, and I'm like, you need help. Like, seriously help. Or you just need, a high five with a steel chair in the face. I don't know. You pick. Which one do you want? Which one do you want? Because you can't because you can't do that forever. I'm just saying that right now. Because eventually family members and friends will call you out on it, and you won't have no friends or family members. So act like a fucking mature motherfucker, okay? Don't act fucking stupid and idiotic. That's what's the problem with people. They'll act like that on the internet, but they won't act like that in front of their fucking goddamn family members. Yeah, because they will look at you so different, and they won't even fucking talk to you anymore. So grow the fuck up. What do you think I made a whole video saying that I'm not a people person? Because of people like this. Because people like that. And Square Enix. The way they treat people. And the way they treat their customers. Like, we pay you. The reason Final Fantasy... The reason Final Fantasy IX is still regarded as one of the best is because we paid money to pay it. And we said it was the best. Because the other previous games, they were good. If the other previous Final Fantasy games weren't good, we wouldn't buy Final Fantasy IX. If Final Fantasy IV wasn't good, we wouldn't get Final Fantasy. If we wouldn't buy Final Fantasy VI. If Final Fantasy VI wasn't good, we wouldn't get Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. Yeah, the fanboys for Final Fantasy VII won't want to hear that, right? Oh, how dare you? How dare you? Yeah, because everything starts and ends with Final Fantasy VII, right? The Messiah is Final Fantasy VII, and nothing else, right? It's funny. I could say Final Fantasy IV, but Final Fantasy IV has been remade countless times, and they're all good, to be quite honest with you. They have been remade, well, remastered countless times, and they've all been really good. And pick your poison, which one you want to pick. My choice of poison for Final Fantasy IV is the DS version. Pretty good choice, to be quite honest with you. I wish they made the sequel. I mean, the PSP version is good. I used to have that one because it came with everything on it. I did give it away. I wish I didn't give it away. Actually, I think I still have it. I think I still do. Maybe not. Maybe not here. I think I did give it away. Fuck. But whatever. I wish they had a version of that with Cecil's kid for the DS version. I know they had it. They did have it for the mobile version, so I don't know why they couldn't translate that to the DS version. I think it came out later before. I don't know, but whatever. Before the original DS's lifespan, but they could have put it on the 3DS. I don't know. I don't know. So sometimes when Square puts games, mobile Final Fantasy games, like what is it, Final Fantasy Dimensions? I think that's what it's called. The soundtrack to that game is phenomenal. The story, from what I heard, is like, or once it gets good, they cut away to a new character and then it starts from there, and you're like, what the fuck? So I do want to play that game. There is a sequel to that game, but it's on mobile, and I'm like, Square, put that on Switch. How about this, Square? Some of your games that you can't put on PlayStation because they're exclusive to Sony, put them on the Switch. But I heard that, Sony might buy you off. I mean, well, pay you to keep you as exclusive to you and you only. So there's that. That could happen. I think it already has happened. So that was probably that, yeah. So overall, Final Fantasy IX is a good game. It should not... I'm not saying it should not be touched. It should not it should not be spit on. That's really it. It should not be spit on. It's like when you're remaking a movie. When you look at John Carpenter's The Thing. When John Carpenter made The Thing remake, he had the love and the passion and the care for the original. He cared. He enjoyed the original. And so, and the thing is too, John Carpenter didn't want to make the remake of the Thing. He was like, it's been there, it's done that. Why should I do it? But then he saw the book, and he saw the book was kind of different from the movie, so he was like, I'll do the book version then, and that's what he did. And that movie is just more remembered more than the original, which some people might say it's kind of sad because the original is not bad either. I haven't watched the original, but many people like James Ralph have mentioned that it's sad that the remake is more remembered more than the original. Like the original's being forgotten and it shouldn't, because without the remake, I mean, without the original, we wouldn't have the remake, which is true. Without the original, we wouldn't have the remake. So the original, the Thing should be remembered for that, and should not be spit on for that. And John Carpenter didn't do that, and that's why I'm telling Square Enix to not do that. But you have already done that with Final Fantasy VII Remake, so why should I trust you with Final Fantasy IX? Kind of loud. Look at the way Final Fantasy 15 turned out. Countless changes. Countless changes a whole bunch of times. And the thing is, you're going to give it to Nomura to do this shit. The one person that the one person you cut out from Final Fantasy 15 because he was taking too long to do what he wanted to do, and he had other projects to do, and you gave him this. I want to point this out too. Today or yesterday, the guy that created Yu-Gi-Oh, he passed away. So if you guys don't know that, there you go. Yeah. So I don't know if it was the guy that made the yeah. So yeah. Anyways, the guy that made Yu-Gi-Oh, he passed away. So moving on, I just want to point that out because I just remembered and I want to talk about it because I might not have a chance to talk about it. So that's it. That's really it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. And if anyone in Square Enix is watching this, at least take my opinion into consideration. If you don't, look, fine. If you don't, okay, watch that company fall while your money is literally falling too at the same time. Do you want to make money or do you want to lose money? Because there's a difference. There's a difference, right? I'm not making money, so I don't have to listen to people. But you are, so you have to. And you owe it to yourself to do it. Why? Because all your employees that are busting their fucking ass to make your fucking game for you to be rich, they're tired. And some of them are getting sick and literally retiring early. Like in their 30s or 20s. And I'm over here like... And people think making games is not tough or stressing. Yes, it is. Look what some of these Japanese developers go through. Just because the higher ups. We always get word that, you could take rest anytime you want. Like if you go to sleep in Japan and they see you go to sleep, they'll leave you be. But how much of that is actually true? If some of them get sick and they have to retire at a young age doing video game design. Sounds a little bit sus. Is that just me? Or some idiot is going to be like, you're looking at it too deeply. Oh no, you just saying that because you don't want me to think more outside of the box. And I'd rather think more outside of the box than keeping myself in one contained unit. And that's how I ended myself right here. See you guys later. Take care. And Square, fuck off.